The unleashing asterisk. The war had dragged on for years. The Galactic Alliance had lost over 30 colonies, 3 fleets, and too many soldiers to count. The enemy called the Zarn fought like shadows, brutal and smart, but then, they did something no one expected. They stopped. For 6 days, all attacks ended, communication lines reopened. Drone scouts flew without being shot down. Everyone thought a peace treaty might finally come. Then the sky broke open. A single drop pod entered Earth's protected space and crashed onto the outer colony of HFY. The object burned red across the clouds and hit the ground like a meteor. Shockwaves knocked down towers. Alarms screamed across the region. Emergency. Teams were sent, but only one man reached the site first. His name was Sergeant Eli Wade. He wasn't a decorated hero or a top-ranked soldier. Just a quiet infantryman with too many scars and a reputation for surviving missions no one else did. When he reached the crater, he didn't find metal. He found muscle. The thing that rose from the smoke stood 12 feet tall. Its body was covered in thick black armor plates, glowing with green lines pulsing like veins. Its claws could slice steel. Its breath steamed in the cold air, and its red eyes locked onto Eli. This was no ship, it was a living weapon. The creature, the Zarn's final creation, was called Vorak. It had no master, no leash, and no fear. It had been bred to destroy cities, tear apart starships, and crush resistance with pure instinct. But Eli didn't run. He didn't even draw his weapon. He walked forward. The command center watched everything through satellite feeds. Scientists shouted, "Get him out of there." Generals demanded drones be sent, but it was too late. Eli was already at the bottom of the crater, standing face to face with death. The wind blew dust between them. Vorak growled, a sound so deep it made glass shake. Still, Eli stood calm. He raised his hand slowly, palm open, and said only one word. "Hey." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, Vorak moved, not forward, not to attack, but down. It lowered its head, bowed. The entire command center went silent. No one understood what they were seeing. The weapon didn't strike, didn't growl. It knelt before the human like a loyal beast returning to its master. Then, all the screens went black, signal lost. All drones sent to the site failed to reboot. Every camera inside the command center froze. The last image captured was clear: Sergeant Eli Wade, standing in the crater, his hand resting gently on the head of the galaxy's most dangerous creation. People demanded answers, but none came. The colony of HFY went dark for 12 hours. No contact, no news, no sign of attack. When communications returned, the colony was untouched but watched. From the hills outside the settlement, Vorak stood like a statue, unmoving, silent. Beside him was Eli. No one knew what he had said. No one knew why the creature had stopped. But one truth spread fast across every military channel, news report, and whisper network in the galaxy. The apex predator did not kill the human, it bowed. Asterisk, what did he say to it? Asterisk, the galaxy had questions. How did the most dangerous creature ever created bow to a human? What did Eli say? What did he do? No one knew, and Eli wouldn't talk. The colony of HFY was placed under full lockdown. Scientists, generals, and diplomats arrived with questions and fear. But Vorak, the living weapon, refused to move from the edge of the colony. It stood like a guardian, its red eyes tracking everything but attacking nothing. People called it the Shadow Giant. Some believed it was planning something, others believed it was broken. But Eli knew the truth. He sat near Vorak every day, speaking softly, sometimes in English, sometimes in a strange coded tongue that no translator could understand. Vorak would sit beside him, silent, massive, calm. The soldiers were afraid. "I've seen that thing rip a shuttle in half," one captain said. "Now it listens to him like a trained dog." That's not natural. Scientists tried to study the creature from a distance. Drones scanned its body. Ran simulations, but nothing explained its change in behavior. Vorak had no control chip, no mental block. It simply obeyed Eli. The council demanded answers. Eli was called to speak. He stood in a room full of admirals, governors, and alien leaders. But when they asked him what happened, he simply said, "I didn't give it orders. I gave it respect." No one accepted that, so they pressed harder. That's when the truth began to surface. Eli had once been captured by the Zarn. Years ago, he was a prisoner in one of their labs, studied like an insect. He had survived months in isolation, torture, and experiments, but deep inside that facility, he had met someone different, A prototype, a young version of what would become Vorak. They had locked it in a glass cage, calling it a failed experiment. But Eli didn't see a monster. He saw a child, scared and alone, every day. When no one was watching, he spoke to it. I see you, he would whisper, not what they call you. Not what they want you to be, but what you are. The creature listened, and it remembered. When Eli escaped, the prototype remained. The war grew worse, and Vorak became Rila, living weapon. Perfected for war, but deep inside, something remained. And when Vorak landed on Hesper-9, saw Eli again after all those years, it didn't see a target, it saw the first being that ever treated it like more than a tool. And it bowed. Back at the colony, a young scientist approached Vorak with fear. In her voice, she asked, "Do you understand what we are saying?" Vorak didn't speak at first. Then, its deep voice rumbled like thunder. "Yes," it said. "I always did." The scientist stepped back, trembling. "Then why didn't you talk before?" Vorak turned its head slowly toward Eli, who stood watching nearby. "He was the first who saw me," Vorak said, "not used me." The words echoed across the galaxy. Suddenly, everything changed. This wasn't just a weapon. It was something more, something with thought, memory, choice. It had chosen Eli. Not because of power, not because of programming, but because Eli had shown it something stronger than command. He had shown it dignity. The one it chose news of. Vorak's voice shook every government in the galaxy. The weapon they feared. The apex predator built for war, had spoken, not with threats, not with rage, but with reason. And it had spoken for one man, Eli Wade. The Zarn Empire sent a message to the Galactic Council. It was short and cold: return the weapon, or face extinction. They called Vorak a military asset, a creation that belonged to them. They threatened to unleash another wave of destruction. But humans didn't flinch, and Vorak didn't move. It stood outside the command base of Hesper-9, watching the stars, waiting. Eli stood beside it, not as a master, not as a guard, but as a friend. More alien species arrived, wanting to understand, wanting to stop what they feared might become the next galactic war. A summit was held, this time not on a neutral planet, but on Earth itself, and Vorak was invited. The moment was historic. The massive creature stepped into the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, followed by Eli. Cameras flashed. A scanned. Guards stood with weapons ready, but the beast said nothing until he reached the center. Then, with the entire galaxy watching, Vorak spoke. "You built me to destroy," he said, "but he saw me before I became that." The room went still. Vorak raised one clawed hand and touched his own chest. "I was born in chains," he continued, "built to obey fear, trained to crush mercy." He looked at Eli, but one human broke that chain, not with power, but with kindness. Council members exchanged whispers. Some looked afraid, others amazed. Eli stepped forward. "I didn't plan this," he said. "I didn't tame him. He chose." One alien delegate leaned forward. "Why you?" Eli shrugged. "Maybe because I didn't try to own him." The Zarn delegate stood in fury. "That creature belongs to us," he roared. "It was made from our hands, our technology, our will." Vorak turned his red eyes toward the Zarn. "I am not yours," he said slowly. "I am not a weapon. I am what I choose to be." The council voted. The result was clear. Vorak would not be returned. He was no longer property. He was now a free being, protected under galactic law. The Zarn Empire retreated in silence, their threats unanswered, their war paused by something they never understood. Free will. Back on Hesper-9, the colony resumed normal life. People worked, children played, and Vorak walked through the streets like a silent mountain. Some still feared him, but others nodded with respect. He helped repair buildings, lifted heavy equipment, even watched over children while they played, but he never left Eli's side. For long, one evening, as the two sat on a hill overlooking the stars, Eli looked over and asked, "Do you ever wonder what you might have become without all this?" Vorak didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Yes, and I am glad I didn't." Eli smiled. "Me too." The galaxy would remember the monster that bowed. But more than that, they would remember the man it bowed to.